Good evening, and thanks for coming to the Black Report. This is the first show of the Black Report. I am Clay Allen, and this guy, oh wait, that guy is, who are you?
My name is Chad. Welcome aboard, everybody. So,
So,
first things
yeah,
first, how are we doing this evening, Clay? Get that out of the way.
I'm here.
Right.
There was
Yeah.
a it was a crash landing into the seat tonight. So
Well, that's how you like it, fly by the wheel type
yeah,
type
I can
thing,
still
But
smell the. I was cooking dinner and making hot dogs, and they like them in the pan, and I can still
oh,
smell it. I didn't even get to eat. I just
oh, wow,
cooked it.
so
And
you're hungry. Well, that's it for tonight, folks. Clay's
yeah.
got to eat.
See you guys later. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks for all the input, and I hope we didn't keep anybody long. But no, yeah, that's no fun when you can't eat. But
We'll
yeah,
be
this
fine.
is this is episode one. This is something we wanted to do for a while because we did the that live on the drone situation when it was going on in Jersey back in November, and
Yep.
that was kind of a big hit that really took off, and something that's always fascinated us. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think everybody's going to enjoy what we show and everything. And we first want to say we take any input. Anybody wants to say anything, feel free to comment, share stories. That's what we're about. It's not about us. It's about the things that we discuss. So
I like how that rhymed. Us and discuss.
it kind of did. It was not, that was not intentional, but hey, I'll let you go ahead and kind of explain there, Clay,
Yeah.
exactly more what this channel really is if you didn't read the description yet.
Right. So if you haven't read it, so we're going to talk about, and maybe we're going to see how it goes, but it's all about aliens, UAPs, unidentified phenomenon, ghost stories, cryptids like the skinwalkers, the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
That's what I've got on the artwork here and on our channel. We're going to talk about stuff like that. We're going to look up stories. We're going to just share our opinions and share other stories that we've heard, and that's kind of like one of the things that we are looking forward to is maybe getting some stories in the chat. So
Absolutely.
that so we have stuff to talk about. So you want to go ahead and tell them where we both stand on this particular subject?
Yeah, we sure can. I mean,
Go ahead. I'll let you go first.
okay. I do, like I said, I probably have to say I'm more of a skeptic than I am a believer. I think that comes probably sometimes from my police background. You need evidence and things like that. But it's has fascinated me ever since I was a kid. The UFOs and the aliens and things like that. The movies I've always liked to watch movies and documentaries about. Sometimes I get in that. I'll just binge watch show after show on the documentaries and things like that. I'm not going to say that there's no such thing as aliens. I mean, I don't think anybody really can say that 100%. You can't say one way or the other, but you got to think about there's, look how big this and vast this universe is for one thing. There's millions and millions, if not billions of stars and planets out there that we're never going to see or get to.
Nope.
So who's to say it's not, who to say that, but it would be nice to see an actual, ship land.
Right.
Yeah. Ship land and come out, wave or whatever to the people would be pretty cool to
Come out
see.
and wave. See, and that's just what we hope that it's gonna. If it ever happens, that's what we hope.
Could be like Independence Day,
It could be. We could be fighting for our lives. And
exactly.
Kind of touching base on what you said. That's my standpoint. Is I'm more of a skeptical believer or skeptical wannabe believer. I want to believe in it. I think it's cool and I think it's interesting. But I haven't. I need proof. Not fuzzy pictures. I need proof.
Exactly.
And so for me, I'm always going to look at it from a logical standpoint. Just like you would have swore I was had a police background or a military background because I always need evidence.
Right, and I think a lot of people do, and it's I think it's just human nature too,
Yeah.
Some people are naive; they'll believe anything, but a lot of people I think won't, they'll take it. But I've seen a lot of interesting, videos and things out there that I've watched over the years, and some are pretty wild. It makes you think. It's like, oh my goodness.
And you talk about the vastness of space and all that. That's another thing for me that kind of, I don't want to say it makes me a believer. It just keeps me questioning is
Right.
I don't live with the belief that out of all of that, and there's so much that we don't even know about. Out of all that, we're the only planet that's got life. It's just us. I feel like that's not possible.
And it's kind of like, why all this other stuff if it's just us?
Like,
you know what I mean?
What other stuff? Like
all the universe, the vastness of this universe. It was just us. You could have a universe that's like a tenth the size and it'd be plenty,
Yeah. I mean, that starts falling into like flat earthers and like stuff
no,
like
that I
like,
think so. That's
I'm just saying, like, if you've ever talked to somebody that's really educated on that, they will sound very convincing, and it will make you question your ideas and your beliefs. But my point about that is that's what people like that would say is, well, this vastness isn't real. It's not really there. Well, I don't think we're just sitting under some firmament either.
Right.
I don't buy that either. I know when I go up in a plane, the higher I get, I see a curvature in the earth.
Yeah, they got, you see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
I mean, you see the space station up there. There's people actually up there. I mean, they got pictures of the Earth coming back. It don't look. It's not flat. It's not flat to me. If it is, and my geometry is pretty bad.
Well, I mean, there's people that will argue that those pictures are fake and those videos are fake. And there's,
and I think you're going to have that no matter what. You're going to have, either the controversy or whatever you want to call it. People are going to always, I guess, they're going to want to agree to disagree, or they just want to. I don't believe it, but there's a lot of, there's some things I want to get into in some future episodes, like, about the moon. I don't know if you ever seen some interesting things about like they think the moon's hollow.
Yes.
It wasn't here, because
they ship.
Some of that's it's kind of weird. Some of the things that they talk about. We'll get into that in some later episodes, like I said, because that's a whole episode there. It's very. It makes you think. I tell you that, it really does. I mean, I don't know. How are we going to know unless we get more proof? I guess further on down the line.
Unless somebody's sitting at the door, and we're all standing out there in a big field or something, and looking at everybody seeing. There's never, there's always going to be doubt. Kind
I agree 100%. So yeah, it's a fun topic. It's very interesting. Yeah. And I kind of like to see that, and kind of going to the ghost side. I've had some stories that's happened to me when I was younger that aren't explainable. I mean, and it really happened, and I seen it with my own eyes. So it's like it makes me wonder. I'll tell a story if you don't mind. When was a little kid. Well, when I was a kid growing up there in the house we lived in, we joked about that I think we called the ghost Ronald for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay, but
there's the living room, the bathroom had a door on each side of it, and it connected from the hallway to the family room, if that makes sense. And we had a chair in the living room that sat there where you can look through the bathroom and into the hallway if both the doors are open, right?
Yeah.
And it did not matter what time. I mean, I tested it, I was smart enough to do that when I was younger. No matter if it was nighttime, daytime, whatever. Only if you sat in that chair, you can see. Every once in a while, you just see like a shadow go down the hall. And it didn't matter. Like I said, the time of day didn't matter. So I knew it wasn't the sun reflecting at a certain time. I don't know what caused that, but I've seen it in my own eyes. I mean, several times. And it's like, this really weird to me, because
could have been a car going by, or
see that, and it very well could have been, but it was dark. It was a shadow. It wasn't a light. It wasn't like a reflection. It was just a shadow that would go down the hall.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird to me, because being during the daylight, I don't think you would see like that.
No, because either way, daytime or night, if a car goes by, usually you're going to catch sunlight coming in that's bouncing off the windshields or the paint.
Exactly.
And if it's nighttime, it's going to be light coming from their headlights.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And one other thing about the house too. This is kind of, it's funny, but it really freaked us out, because when we were younger, my cousin, they would come over about every Saturday night, because our parents would play cards, and we'd go, we'd play in another room and do stuff, and we was in my room, and And I think it was my sister when she finished up eating a banana, and then we just kind of thrown it at each other in the bedroom, just being silly. You know, you're kids.
Yeah. Yep.
And my door was open in the thing, and it was a door up kind of towards the wall of the bedroom. And I remember my sister throwing it at me, and I ducked, and it missed me, and it went behind the door. So I immediately grabbed the door, pulled it open. That peeling, and you can ask any of my cousins, you can ask my sister, we'll all agree because we all saw it, was gone. I thought, did it go through the crack of the door and in the hallway? It was gone. We all took off screaming like somebody was murdered, you know, because it scared us to death.
Was it ever found?
Never found. I know that sounds silly, a banana peel.
Yeah,
but it just gone. It just, we can't explain it. And I swear to you that happened 100%. Not.
And that leads me to things like these portals that they talk about with different dimensions, and that's one of the things that they think we could be seeing when we think we're seeing a ghost or a UFO. That it's actually like a leak or a something in like a different dimension that passes through our dimension, and we see it, but we see it in like a very opaque manner because it's whatever. Or like spaceships, they're I don't know, there's lots to consider, lots of roads to go down, lots of rabbit holes, and that's why I like this stuff. That's why I like talking about it.
Because you talk about one thing and it brings up, oh, that reminds me of this, it brings up this. But those are just the two things. Like I said, I know it sounds silly, they're kind of minor to some, but it just freaked us out. I mean, we can't explain it. Nobody can. We were all there. We all witnessed it. There was 5 of us. We all seen it. I mean, and then didn't see
that's nice too. It's comforting when you got somebody else to verify it with you.
Yeah, they're not saying, "Oh, he's Looney Tunes." Yeah. He's off his rocker.
He was tired. It was late.
Yeah, he's taking his meds.
I have a couple, but I'll tell you 2 since you told me to.
Oh yeah, sure away.
The first one, the thing was, I think I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I lived in Montana, and I can't remember if we were living with my aunt. My aunt and uncle had like 80 or 180 acres. I can't remember. They had a ranch, and they boarded quarter horses, like for races, different types of horses, and they had cattle and stuff. So there was always like chores to do, like we would get up 4 o'clock in the morning, go outside, feed a bunch of the animals, come back to the house at 6, eat breakfast, go back out, work all day. And every now and then we would sit in the back of one of the trucks at night and just relax, because we were tired. And I'm like 6, 7 years old. All my 2 cousins out there were a lot older than me, and then my brother. And we'd be hanging out in the back of the truck, telling stories, looking up at the sky, and looking at the stars. And one night we were doing that, and we saw this light coming. And this is going to sound real funny because I'm, like I said before, very skeptical about stuff.
Right.
We saw this light, and then we realized it was coming closer to us because it was getting slightly brighter and bigger, and it was just taking shape as it got close to us. And there was, I can't even remember how many lights this thing had, but there was like probably, I'm not even gonna, I can't guess, but there was lights on lights. They was just there wasn't like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. There was at least 30 different lights on the bottom of this thing in a circular pattern. And it looked like those lights were, blinking in this manner, like in going in a rotation around the vehicle. We couldn't see the vehicle. It was dark. All we saw was the lights. And the closer it got, the more we all started realizing this isn't an airplane. This isn't a helicopter. We can't hear anything. And when it got to a point where it was like, it felt like it was coming right at us, we all jumped out of the truck and ran to the house and started telling everybody what happened. Nobody believed us.
Right.
Of course, when they look out there, there's nothing there. And
that's the way it goes.
Yeah. And I to this day, I can't even tell you if it was just our imaginations because we were all hyped up and it was late and we were tired and we were talking stories, or if we actually saw it, because it was dark and we didn't get a good look. It was the fuzzy picture of the Bigfoot. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Right. And you didn't have cell phones back there to snap a picture, you know.
We didn't.
So
Yeah, nobody had cell phones. So they weren't even
exactly.
around
So
yet. No,
so it was like, what do you do?
there's nothing. So there was that. There's been a few other things but most of them I could pass off and explain in some way or another.
Right.
And then recently, probably, let's see, my daughter's 11, probably about 6-7 years ago, roughly. I was still living with her mother. We were still together, and we were in an apartment in another town north of me here. The basement was where the washing machine, like all the laundry was down there. It was a concrete floor, stone walls, but like concrete filled in. And then there was the boiler, like the furnace. Well, I was down there. We had run out of oil and didn't have the money to fill it up, so I had gone to the gas station and got like 2 5-gallon cans of diesel.
Right.
Just filling it up. Well, while I was in there, I'm by myself. Okay, by myself. I heard my daughter say my name. Well, say daddy. I think it was daddy. And this was so close and so clear and so concise that it sounded like it was right behind me. Right. And I heard daddy or whatever it was. And I turned around and there's nothing there. Nobody there. No one. Okay. I searched the rest of the base. I mean, from there, leaving that room, you pass by the stairs that go upstairs. If she would have ran up those stairs, I would have heard her.
Right.
The time it took for me to turn around from when I heard daddy. Now, I'm not saying it was my daughter's voice. I'm just saying it sounded like my daughter.
Right. She wouldn't have had time to get up the stairs, probably.
There's no way she would have got to the top of the stairs by the time, because I was literally maybe 6 feet from the doorway that when you walk through it, you're looking to your right is the stairs.
Right, gotcha.
She wasn't downstairs. I ran upstairs because I had the chills. Like, it freaked me out. And I went and asked her mom, I said, where is CJ? She said, she's outside playing. And when she said she was outside playing, it took me about a half hour or more to get up the courage to go back downstairs because I had to finish what I was doing.
Right. It's always in the basement. Always in the basement.
What in the hell was that noise?
You want to go down there for me and finish up? I got to do something else. I'm going to be busy for a little while.
It rattled me a bit.
I'm sure it did. I mean, how do you explain it? How do you explain it?
Because when you have thoughts in your head, you can hear things perfectly inside your head, but they're in your head. You can tell they're in your head because they're not audible to your ears. You're listening with something else. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know what to call that, but when you're hearing sounds inside your head when it's totally silent, you're producing those sounds off of memory and everything. And that's I don't know what to call it, but your internal hearing.
Right.
It's not
it's something different than the voices I hear in my head that tell me not to do something or to go ahead and do something. Yeah. Different from that. Yeah, I got you. Right.
So that just gave me chills. I was like, because this thing
that's kind of eerie. It really is.
This was very audible, very clear and crisp.
A distinct kid's voice too.
Distinctly, I thought it was my daughter's.
Yeah.
Right behind me. I mean, it sounded like she was no more than 2 feet away from me.
I for some reason I think like kid ghosts and things and voice that's almost more scary than adults. Not sure why.
Have you seen those things
and dolls?
Yeah.
Some dolls are just freaking scary, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
Oh man.
My grandmother had clowns, dude.
Yeah,
so many clowns. There was shelves and like all in her house, cabinets, hutch cabinets covered with clowns. But that was back before clowns became a scary thing. So
yeah, because now you're thinking, we're gonna be sitting there going,
yeah, exactly.
Turn around, looking at you, the eyes fall. Yeah, I'm out. I'm out.
I'm out.
Have fun.
Yeah.
That's what I think. What got the people scared about clowns more than anything is probably I'd say it's probably Poltergeist when that clown went after that boy. I think that came out before it, didn't it?
I don't know, but it's all of it. It's all those movies. Attack of the Killer Clowns
But some of these dolls are just creepy.
Yeah, I mean, they are.
And when you got a ton of them, it's just like, man, it's like you feel like you're being watched.
And you picture
Yeah.
if a ghost could possess something, it's going to possess one of those things.
Yeah, look at Annabelle.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
And that's supposed to be real too.
Exactly. And who knows? That's a whole other thing with Ed and Lorraine Warren and all their crazy stuff. I'll say one other story here. I'm going to leave out names because I don't want to say names due to respect for the family.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this happened as well. This is an unexplained thing. I don't know if you want to call it. I don't know. I'm not going to really call it a ghost. I'm also going to say it demonic. When I didn't do it, but my sister, when again, my sister, she's kind of a wild one growing up, but she lived in this house, and one night her and a bunch of friends, but she told me this story before what I'm about to tell you actually happened. So I know that that's weird. They're of course, drinking and playing the Ouija board, being silly, and asking stupid questions and blah, blah, blah. And that's something I won't mess with anymore today. I won't do it after that story. I've never touched one and I won't do it. But, I just realized, and how you get to the question, they got to the question, well, is anyone here going to die? You want to get to the dark side of stuff. That's the way you are when you're drinking, I guess. And
deep right away. Yeah,
exactly. Well, it pointed to one of her friends. The pointer did. Of course, I don't. I wasn't there, but she told me all this, and I had no reason, definitely no reason to doubt it. And then it says, it said someone going to die, and it pointed to this person, and then of course they ask it, how, and it spelled out car, and then it asked, of course, how old or when, and I think it said 21. Or 21 or 22. I can't remember the exact age. It was one that was because they were young, and they all laughed it off, of course, and then a couple weeks go by, that person that it pointed to was killed in an automobile accident. And now I would not believe that. If she told me that after it happened, I would have said, yeah, right.
How old
she
was
told
she?
Me she was in her early 20s at that time, and I was young. I don't even think I hadn't even gone to the service yet. And I went in, I was 20. So I was probably like 17 or 18.
Yeah.
When that happened. And I wouldn't have believed it, but she told me what it said when they were playing with it before it happened. And and to this day and age, is it coincidence?
I'm good.
I don't know.
I don't want to play with one.
Ever since she told me that, I said, no way I'm going to touch that, because that's just, put it this way, the board got too much right.
Yeah.
It got the person, it got the age, and it got the way. And I said, and when she told me that before it happened, when it really did, they're all just dumbfounded for a long time. They were, need to say that no one else ever messed with it again. But that's probably one of the most freaky things, because it's, did it summon up a spirit? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've ever used one. I feel like I have.
Yeah.
But I don't remember anything major happening.
No, I didn't really believe in
the Bloody Mary in the mirror thing.
Yeah, Bloody Mary.
Yeah, I don't remember anything happening. I just remember getting scared and not making it all the way through it and turning the light on.
Yeah, I can't do it. There's going to be a face in the mirror. Yeah. So yeah, that and Candyman, it's kind of the same concept, isn't it?
Oh, I've never heard that one. So
yeah, I think so. It's something like that. Candyman shows up in the mirror, the movie, or whatever. But it's one of those fun things you do when you was a kid. But I remember Bloody Mary. That was kind of funny. Back in the day. But I never saw anything. Never seen it like that. I never, never seen anything.
I know there was a night. There was a night when I was going home. I was riding my bike. I was a teenager, and at the time, the neighborhood that my parents live in Florida, there was a lot of lots. There was all like quarter-acre lots, and there was a lot of lots that weren't developed yet. They were still woods. So we had a lot of woods. We had a lot of fun playing manhunt and stuff and building forts. And I was riding my bike home, and it was dark. And I remember telling all my friends about it, and we still talk about it, but I don't really know if it's real. I kind of feel like it was my mind playing tricks on me. Right. But I was riding home, and the whole time, this long, I'm driving, going down my street on my bike, and this long stretch of woods, I could hear people like whispering my name, like Clay, just as I was riding my bike, and I kept going faster and faster and faster.
I
was
like, I'm sticking around.
You know, like I said, I really
boy.
don't. I think it was I think it was my imagination.
Right.
But then I heard it, and it scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, that stuff does, especially when you're younger, because you don't really have as much knowledge of what's going on in that crazy place. But
right,
it's
and you're not as wise, so you push the boundaries a little bit more and do things that you don't.
Well, you think because when you're younger, you thought you were kind of immortal, like, hey, I'm young, I can do anything,
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, you don't think about it like you do today. You get older, you're just like, those feelings are gone.
Yeah.
No matter whether you want it to be or not. But no, there's a lot of different, and that's the kind of stuff I like to listen to, like the stories like that. So if anybody's out there and listening and they want to share a story, share it down there. We'd like to hear it. Or after this is not live, if you want to comment, below in the video, feel free to do that.
Please. And, we want some stories. Give us some stories. Maybe we'll bring your story up on the show.
Right. Yeah. If you want it to, we'll have you up and talk about it and everything like that, because that's what it's about. It's building a community about this stuff that's going on and stuff, because a lot of people have seen a lot of different things. A lot of people have seen a lot of different things you can't explain.
Curious minds want to know.
That is correct. The truth is out there. And how they say it, the truth is out there.
Is out there.
So that's what we're going to discuss, that kind of stuff. So
it's funny that this came up because we originally me and you were just talking, like, was it the day that we started doing all this? We were talking about doing something completely different.
Right.
And prior to that, I have a habit of, I'll stay up here doing my work, editing videos, whatever I'm doing, doing reviews. And then I'll go down, once I get tired up here, that's when I worry that, my quality is going to drop because I'm getting tired. My eyes are dry.
Right.
So I'll stop, and it's usually, anywhere between 10 and 1 because I stay up late. I'll go downstairs, and most nights I'll put on something, some kind of UFO phenomenon, unsealed document, unsealed files, the UFO file, all that stuff. I'm always watching it. And then when this popped up, when we were having a conversation about doing a show, I was like, this is perfect because I'm always watching stuff.
Does it wake you up when you start watching that? You were tired, then you start watching it.
Yeah, I'll stay awake. Sometimes, a lot of times I'll stay awake for like another hour or so, and then I'll fall asleep down there, and then usually get up in the middle of the night and go to bed. And there are nights though where I'll go and turn something on, grab a midnight snack or something, and then within 5 to 15 minutes, I'm like.
It just depends. Hit that couch right, your body goes with it. But
if I'm tired enough, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of interesting stories I like to watch about that kind of stuff is the ones that actually have like on police calls on it. Airport radio traffic. Air control. With visual evidence or calls coming in.
Military pilots talking about things they've seen.
Yeah, like the Tic Tac UFOs and things. That kind of evidence is it's hard to counteract. I mean, it really does.
It makes you. Oh, okay, you're verified.
Yeah, and like those drones that were going on to Jersey. That's just that I know
they were here
that's
too.
Kind of old news, but that. Did you ever see one of those in that time frame?
Yeah.
You saw one?
Oh,
okay.
I saw a lot.
Okay. So
we're not far from Jersey.
Right. So you saw a lot of them then, huh?
A lot. We're probably 4 hours away. 4.
Could you have an estimate how big they were?
So they were too far away. They weren't to me, they weren't drones at all.
Okay.
They were a plane. Some of them, but they could hover. And they had I'm trying to think of how many. I think they had 2 big propellers on top like this, like kind of out to the sides, and they were kind of noisy.
Yeah.
Somebody, I forget who it was that I know, or I forget how that. I can't verify none of this, but this made a lot of sense. They said something about it being they were scanners that they were testing. That look for dirty bombs.
Okay.
Because there was talks from something, I can't remember if it had to do with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing or what, but there was talks about like threats of dirty bombs being, and I don't even know. I'm not trying to talk about stuff that I'm not educated on, so
right.
I don't know exactly what a dirty bomb is, but they were supposed to. There were scanners, and they scanned for the materials and things that those omit or whatever, and they were testing them, and that's what that was all about.
I also heard too. I mean, I don't know I thought if it was verified. They were talking about like around that same time frame, there was some like nuclear material that was missing.
Yeah,
About
probably.
that, about that,
So
and
that,
they were people said they was out scanning for that, and it very well could have been,
I
been
think
part
that's
of
the
it. You know,
same thing, and that's what they were. That's what
yeah,
these drones, quote unquote, were made by a certain. I think it's an American company, but I'm not positive on that.
right.
And they were a flight worthy craft, but they're heavy. The scanner that has it is on the bottom, and it's very, very heavy. I don't know if it's got like a big magnet or what it is, but it's heavy. So that's why those things were made the way they were made.
Okay.
That's what I heard. And that to me, the person that told me that story, it sounded very, very believable because it didn't sound far fetched.
Yeah,
It didn't sound like crazy or conspiracy.
right. What exactly? What
It
too out
sounded
there?
like,
You know.
yeah, it really made sense. So I was like, all right, that's probably what's going on.
Yeah,
And
it was just weird because they were seeing it coming
they're
from
gone.
way out in the water. They were coming
Yeah,
into town, which was which is
yeah.
kind of weird too.
And
You
now
know.
they're gone.
Yeah, yeah. It's over with. It's just like
Yes.
they must have found what they was looking for or
It's
something. 'Cause
probably
it's
well,
over.
no, this like I said, the story I got was that they were just testing them.
Oh, okay.
They were testing them, and they were also seeing how we would react to these things hanging around all the time. So
We all
see
had
how we
everybody.
reacted.
Yeah, everybody was on alert. I mean, you had people getting ready to introduce shooting down drone bills, which would have been
Oh
absolutely
God,
a
that would have been
nightmare.
so bad. Yeah.
You have all these people out there just firing in the sky at whatever.
But
And
wasn't there like video footage and stuff from people saying that
yeah,
someone crashed and
yeah,
like
yeah, there
landed in the
was. Yeah,
street and stuff? And
it
I don't know.
it
Was I
was.
there? Nope.
No, it was
Can
just
I
reports,
verify
you
it?
know.
Nope.
No, I can only verify what I saw on the news and stuff, and
Yeah.
then other people's videos and stuff that they've uploaded and stuff like that. But
See, even the
yeah,
news though, I'm very like I wasn't there. If I
right,
see something on the news that's taking place somewhere that I've been, and I recognize the buildings and I recognize the streets, now I'm gonna connect with it more, and I'm gonna be a lot more apt to believe in it.
right.
You know what I mean? But when I see
Yeah,
something, I do video, and I'm not even that good, and I can make stuff look really neat. Just think about these guys that are really good.
oh, I know.
They can make stuff on these social media posts that look legit.
Oh yeah, AI is something else
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah, it's kind of scary, but yeah, I just know those drones were a lot higher, a lot more developed than one I've got.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
But
but
they didn't look like something out of this world or something crazy. It looked like a
right.
plane. It looked like a kind of reminded me of like those planes that they take off and land on water and they got like a big flat bottom and they're just these big fat planes. It reminded me of a version of that, a smaller, you know. I don't know.
Okay. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big time at the time. I know that was taking over. That's all you heard about, you know.
Everywhere.
Like yeah, it was all over flying around bases and stuff.
Even right here, we'd just walk out the front door and we'd see them all over the place. Like you'd see like 3 or 4, 5, 6 at a time. Yeah. You'd see like 2 over here, 1 over here, and if you look behind. No, I swear to God, you'd see we were seeing them all the time.
Right.
But yeah,
Interesting. So
very weird.
yeah, but I haven't physically seen like any ghost or anything that I know of, and have never seen Bigfoot or any kind of skinwalker type of a creature like chupacabras, whatever. I haven't seen any of that stuff, you know. So I may not want to see some of that. Who knows, you know?
That's like I said before. You want to see it, but you want to see it and know that it's not going to hurt you.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to see it from afar because seeing something out in the wild is a whole different thing than on the TV screen or whatever like that. Because I know when we was back in the military when we was fishing up there in Alaska, my buddies and I we ran into a grizzly bear, Now that's scary. I'm sorry. I mean, we knew exactly what was because I seen
yeah,
it.
that's yeah.
And I thought it's a whole different. It's a whole different than going to a zoo and seeing it behind the fence. Oh, look at the pretty cute bear. But when you're out there, when you're part of the food chain and on the lower end of the food chain, changes the ball
there's
game.
Nothing stopping it from getting to you.
All I had was a 9mm. I don't know if that would have done anything to that grizzly bear, but I'll tell you what, we took off running like scared, frightened children because we thought, the more distance between me and that bear,
yeah,
better off we are, But
and they can run fast.
Yeah. So obviously he wasn't. She, I don't know what it was. We didn't get. No, we were joking about it first, and my friend Denny was up front, and he turned this little corner. He goes, "Oh," he stops. He goes, "Oh my God, there's a bear." And I said, "No, come on, now we're tired. We've fishing all morning. We're like, look, don't be clowning around." We go around and I step around the corner. It was probably 10 feet from me. I saw the big old head of that grizzly. It was huge. I go, "Oh my God!" So we all just slowly back up to where around the bend where we couldn't see it and he couldn't see us anymore, and then we just bolted, ran as fast as we could. Chest waders, fishing poles in our hands, just running.
I like to hike. I like going hiking.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things that scares me. I'm not worried about grizzlies up here, but we do have like black bears and stuff.
That's bad too, though.
Anything, man. I don't.
Yeah.
I remember I had an encounter with a bear a long time ago, and I was driving truck, and I was down in Florida for a few days, so I stopped in Ocala. One of my best friends he ran a 4-H camp. So he married my cousin. So they lived on the camp. They had the campground house. It was a full, 3-bedroom house or whatever. And they had room for me to park my semi, and it was the off season. So they were like, "Why don't you come hang out with us for a couple days? We'll do dinner, cook out." I was like, "All right." So I parked the truck in one of the parking lots, and it's just a big grass field. And as I'm getting out of my truck, I'm walking towards them, and they're all like, "Shh," and they're like pointing behind me, and I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Oh, a bear behind you."
Thanks.
And I turn around, and there's sure enough, there's a big black bear, and I didn't know what to do. But the stupid part of me got real curious, and I had one of those disposable cameras on me. It was in my bag. I set the bag down and I pulled the camera out and I started going towards the bear. And I'm taking pictures.
Yeah. This was the last photograph he took.
Yeah. I didn't get close enough that I had to worry.
Right.
But I was probably I want to say 75 yards, 60 yards away. And I snapped a couple pictures. I don't even think I ever developed them.
Okay. So you got that camera? Probably not.
I don't even know. The reason I don't think I developed them is I think I dropped it because I was taking pictures, and then I only took like two or three, and it looked up and it saw me, and then it started coming towards me.
Yeah, that's enough.
And as soon as it came towards me, I turned around and ran. I ran so fast. This big fat guy. I ran past my cousin, past my friend, past their kid. Everybody was running to the house, and I was in front of them, and they started before me.
It's amazing what a little motivation will do behind you.
You put the fear of God behind me and the fear of dying. I'm gonna fly, man. I can
exactly. Glide. It's funny because when I was when I was hiking into that woods or the trail that morning before we went fishing. There's these logs that are kind of laying in the trail. I had a hard time. I had to stop, really work my way over them, to get over them, because the trees were sitting kind of high. Man, when I was running back, I was hurdling those things like I was an Olympic.
None of that, man.
I was like an Olympic sprinter. I was just hurdling them. Yeah, and I was in chest waders, fishing poles in my hand, everything. It just, and they'll say, well, you don't want to run it. That triggers a fight instinct in a bear. I said, well, you're supposed to climb trees and play dead. Oh no, I'm not going to lay there and let a bear come out and sniff me and decide to take a chunk out of me for once. I'm not doing that.
And I've heard that works real good, but
and then
the tree thing, they come up the tree after you.
Well, grizzly bears can't climb, but the problem with Alaska in those trees, climb it. Well, unless you can climb a telephone pole, You ain't climbing the trees because the first branch
is like 60 feet.
Is like 20 feet up,
yeah.
and it's the size of a toothpick.
Right.
Because they're like mostly all evergreen trees.
If you made it to it, it's gonna snap.
Yeah, it ain't gonna hold you anyway. Why would I? So I mean, that idea flew out the window. So we just ran and thought, well, that's the best way to do it. But anyway, kind of got off topic.
Try telling yourself, yeah, we did get it. It's all right. Try telling yourself in that moment not to run.
Exactly. You can't fight or flight. That's why freeze. I guess we didn't want to freeze, but no. I mean, it's like I say, probably the one I really believe in the least, but it's still interesting and fun to. I still kind of enjoy watching the shows, and that is Bigfoot, because I do think that I think a lot of people are seeing is bears. People don't realize that bears can walk on two legs.
Yeah,
they can walk on two legs for a while. They stand up. They're 8 or 9 feet tall. They're big. They're big animals.
Yeah.
And they blend into the woods a lot. They're dark, and they can smell because they eat animals. And roll around and whatever. I think that's the majority of what a lot of people are seeing, besides just their imagination. My personal opinion. But I mean, I don't know. I look at it this way: there's not a acre of land in this country that man hasn't set foot on or droned over. There'd be a proof of one. They would have found one. It's just impossible not to have found one.
I brought up a good point. I was talking to my wife's mom about this. I told her we were going to be doing this show,
right?
And then I started talking about Bigfoot. Now, I would, again, another thing that I would love to find out is real. And then there was like, me and you had talked about like how we heard that there's like families of them. It's not just one or two. There's like, there's a lot of them, and I'm going, all right, well, humans, everything as far as I know that's living dies. It eventually dies.
Right. Exactly.
And if one of these died, if we have multiple times accidentally stumbled upon one and caught some fuzzy video or fuzzy picture of one, how come we haven't stumbled across one that died?
Yeah, a carcass, exactly.
A carcass. Like, how come we haven't they could be foraging, looking for food, and be too close to an edge of a cliff and slip off and fall. Granted, somebody will argue and say, well, because they're so far out, there's nobody goes out there, so you'll never see them. But these sightings are where people are. Right,
exactly. Exactly.
It might be where people are and accidentally or fall off an edge of a cliff or get attacked by something that was stronger than it, a bear. Where are the carcasses and the dead big feet?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on, we're finding T-Rex bones. Right. Of dinosaurs. We find those. That's a lot older than Bigfoot, and then they found a frozen woolly man that's still intact. So come on,
the skeletal structure of a Bigfoot is not something that you're not going to see. It's going to
exactly.
It's
bigger than a human. It'd be like a big gorilla. It'd be like a big gorilla carcass laying out there.
Yeah. So that doesn't mean now everything I just said doesn't mean I don't believe. It's just all the reasoning that comes into play when I start wondering if they're real.
And like I said, that's the other thing. This channel, it's not a channel that we're just going to give you our opinion. We don't care what you think. I'm not here to convince or disprove anything. We're just here to present things that people are seeing and witnessing.
Things that we want to talk about. Things that are
exactly. We have no mysteries. If you want to believe it, that's fine. I believe that's fine too. If you think we're crazy. You think we're crazy.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
We all got our opinions on this stuff. So that's the thing. I just want to, first of all, I make sure I want to say that we're not here to, just stick with one side, because there's always two sides to every story. We're here to give,
three.
Okay.
Three sides. The one side, the other side, and the truth,
Yeah, there you go. That's true. We're just here to give it to you, the stories, the evidence that is given, and let you make up your own mind. And that's what we want to interaction. Well, what do you think about that? Believe, not believe, we'll leave that for you to decide, because that's what's fun about this, and then other people can bring up things that we didn't think about, and that's another good thing about it. You bounce ideas off one another, you get more views and more opinions and things and stuff like that. So if you want to believe, that's great. If not, that's great too. That's what we're here for. We're just here to
I want both sides.
Exactly.
I want,
and I think you have to have that. You know,
yeah.
you really can't. Yeah, you can't go in life and be one side all the time. That's not, you know,
You
not
you
good.
could bring something to this show, and I'm talking to the viewers. You could
Right.
bring something to this show that's going to tip us one way or the other. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
could possibly present something to us that makes us go in one direction or the other.
Exactly. You know, you bring up
Yeah.
something we didn't even know about. You know,
Yeah.
well, then that really makes sense now. You know, because there's a lot of stuff, new stuff comes out all the time. You know, there's new videos, there's new things that happen, and all the time. So it's gonna be hard to keep up on a lot of it. But that's what we're gonna be here for. And yeah, we're gonna try to do a live show every Wednesday night at 8:00 Eastern, and then we're also gonna sprinkle in some regular videos, some things,
some recorded episodes, yeah,
right, throughout other things that we're gonna present to you, so you'll have all kinds of stuff to watch. But I don't really have much more to say as an intro. I think we've done pretty much.
No, we're good.
Yeah, we just kind of want to give you a general idea. We kind of told us a bit about ourselves, where we come from, shared a couple of stories that our experiences, nothing real drastic, but I think everybody's got a story. At least something's happened, you know, whether it be a ghostly thing, a UFO, or something they saw in the woods they can't explain. Exactly. Want to hear it. And if you got photos or video, even better. So
yes, even better.
You know, so share it in the comments, like I said, and we'll try to talk about it on the next one, or we'll definitely get to it sometime. So do you have anything else there, Clay, before we call it?
Now, that's exciting stuff. We are going to in either, I don't know if it's going to be a live or a recorded episode, but we're going to touch base on Travis Walton the next time you see us.
Absolutely. That's a very interesting story. They actually made a movie, Fire in the Sky, about that. It was a good movie.
Okay, that was about him then. That's what I told my wife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was based on
Fire in the Sky was about Travis Walton.
It absolutely was, and that was a good movie. I watched that when I was a teenager. It kind of freaked me out then, you know, because it was very well done, very well done.
Not, but yeah.
If you haven't watched that, I recommend watching that. It's pretty good, and that's a very interesting story. It's definitely worth watching. You'd like it. I mean, it's pretty good. It's got a lot of action, and it keeps you suspenseful, and it's well done. You know,
where I can stream it, so I can go watch it. Now
I don't. Yeah, I don't know how many. I don't know if you got a Fire Stick, you can check it out. Probably, I'm sure you can pull it up on there. I don't know where it'd be.
But
yeah, check it out. It's a good one. I recommend it. But yeah, that's going to be one we're going to be talking about. So we're going to present some things, and again, share the story and give our thoughts on it, because there's some things you can't explain on. I still can't explain even after watching the show, because we weren't with this guy when he was gone for those 5 days. We don't know.
Nope,
you know,
only
idea. He knows. But there's some. It's an interesting story. Probably one of the most famous abduction cases, probably that I think around here anyway that has happened. So,
and I want to express that we are not here as masters and fully knowledge of everything. We're just here to talk about it, present it, and share ideas and stories, and get some feedback from you guys. And we're also not here to judge, like he said.
Nope.
You can go either way. Everybody's
exactly.
welcome.
Yeah, but I'm glad you said that. We are not professional investigators. No. We're not. I don't have a PhD in biology or science or anything like that. I just go by what, you know, over my years of experience and what I see and, you know, what I hear. So, you know,
what I've heard about,
exactly
what I've experienced, and a lot of the stuff I've experienced, I can kind of rationalize it to something else. So,
exactly.
This was fun.
It was. So, like I said,
good intro.
We've gone on for a little while, but again, like I said, I appreciate people watching this and hope you enjoy this. We got a lot of plans coming up, so hopefully we can get this going and build a good community around this, and we can all be a part of it. So, just stick around with us and see where this goes. It's going to be fun.
Sounds good.
Along for the journey.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I'm along for the ride.
We are. Last word before we head out.
That's it. Just keep an eye out for us. We're going to figure out a schedule and share this. If you see it, share it. Please
share it. Exactly. Yes. Please do.
Please subscribe, because we're new, and I think we've got 8 subscribers, and I think we only have 8 because I subscribed from all of my YouTube profiles.
Actually, I think there's 11 on there now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, yeah, it's jumping up. So the word's slowly getting out, brand new. But hey, that's what it's about.
Share it and please subscribe. If you guys enjoyed this, I feel like I'm doing a recording. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And that's all I've got, man. I'm done.
All right. Well, have a good rest of your week, Clay, and we'll be talking at you here again. We'll talk before off this camera, but we'll definitely be back. As of right now, we plan on being back again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. again Eastern for another live show, and we will be talking about the Travis Walton story in depth. Have some interesting things to talk with you on that, and I think you'll enjoy that. It's pretty good story to talk about. I look forward to it. All righty. Well, everybody enjoy the rest of the week. If you're in the hot areas, try to stay cool. So it's been warm.
We appreciate you watching. If you're watching, so until next week, I'm out.
I'm out too. We'll talk at you later. Remember, keep your eyes to the skies, and you never know what you'll see. We'll talk to you later.